When you're riding well and in the zone, sometimes it feels like nothing can stop you and nothing phases you on the trail. Other times we start to respond to the trail in a slightly more negative way and flight and fight responses start creeping into our riding. This issue, we're going to look at how and what sparks off those responses and the negative effects that they can bring into your riding, but most importantly how to overcome them and how to keep in a nice state of emotional control and not be responding to those flight and fight instincts.
So we've come up to my local trails on Aston Hill where there are plenty of visual performance cues, input cues and performance cues waiting, and what we're going to do is look at how they affect the way you ride and how you can use them to actually get better rather than slow down and succumb to those effects that Richard just outlined.
In a primeval state, caveman lifestyle, those flight and fight responses might keep you strong and might keep you out of trouble. The main elements to the fight side of things is really where your body's preparing for basically a ruck or some trouble. Taking a nice deep breath, tensing up your muscles, the adrenaline starts pumping, you get uber human strength for a short period of time, all can help when you're fighting off a saber-toothed tiger, but aren't going to help you master the trail. On the flip side is the flight side of our responses, where we curl up in a bit of a ball. Again, there's a tendency to hold the breath, tense up, maybe show the top of our heads, the hardest part of our body, to the aggressor. But again, all of these responses predate riding mountain bikes. So great when you're dwelling in a cave, not so much when you're out shredding the trails.
Okay, so let's head to the trails, see what we're on about and see how we can deal with those responses.
You'll appreciate that one set of performance cues can kick off any number of reactions. Just riding through this section where there is going to be some input as we ride through, there's going to be perhaps some anticipation as we approach, and there's certainly a big element of this being a visual performance cue. That can spark off a number of negative inputs from the rider which are based in flight and fight. They might all appear in the same section, but we're going to deal with them individually. And first off, this is a really obvious visual performance cue. As we ride in, these roots start to scream our name at us. It's a very loud piece of trail for riders that are less confident, and it's going to suck them in. The physical manifestation of that fear or that flight-based response is to look down into that section.
So coming into here, keeping your head up, looking through, really enables you to see where you want to be next rather than looking into what you're doing. The challenge here, as Richard said, is that as you come into here, you're very often going to find your eye line dragged into this section rather than looking up through. We know everyone looks down, and what we're looking to do is to look down less often and for less time. We call it dwell time. If you don't dwell on the bit you're looking at and you look back up to where you want to go, you carry on through the section. If you keep on looking at this, it's more than likely that your brain will begin to wonder where it's going and what it's doing. With no one else left to ask, it asks the body hasn't got a clue, and it sets off that whole response that we're talking about, that protection response, going into flight rather than riding this section, staying in control.
As you look down, lots of things are going to happen, but most importantly it's going to seem like everything's happening more quickly. Your sense of time perception will change. The nearer to your front wheel you're looking, the less time there is between seeing it and generating a response to deal with it. That causes a bit of a panic in the brain, and as Ian said, the brain starts asking the body what's going on, and the body says, you're in charge. All the body thinks to do is slow things down. Grabbing a handful of lever is a quick response to looking down. Look up, flood your brain with nice light, your visual cortex with good strong sunlight, and it's going to make your body and your brain much happier.
The big thing here as well is your breathing. Not so much thinking about breathing, but just being aware of it. So as you come in, you have awareness of breath, what your breathing's doing. If you're holding your breath, straight away you're linking up that system that says something's not right here. If you're breathing as you come through here and really conscious about how you're breathing, the whole section opens up. Not only does looking down make the trail feel faster, but breathing more rapidly and shallowly can actually have the same effect. So taking long deep breaths, really concentrating on that breathing and slowing everything down, in turn does the same thing on the bike and just keeps everything that little bit slower so you can find more time to get through the section without having to do anything you don't want to do.
So if it feels slow, it might not actually be slow. The idea is to travel quickly but have the feeling and the brain time that it feels slow. As Ian rides through this section, you'll see him looking up and through and not getting hooked up on these performance cues, not looking down into the trail, but looking through and ahead to where he wants to be next, buying himself plenty of thinking time to make his decisions early and ride smoothly, not through this section, but on and out and through the next section too. So as Ian rides through this section, if he does have a little glance down, what we're looking for is a minimum dwell time. To bounce those eyeballs back up off the performance cue, the visual performance cue that's screaming at him to lock onto them, but look through and up to where he does want to be.